Hi, this is your Swapnil Bhartiya and welcome to TFR Let's Talk. And today we have with us two guests, Nathan Hoffman, Enterprise Cloud Architect from Akamai, and once again, Tony Falco, VP of Marketing at Hydrolix. Tony, Nathan, it's great to have you both on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
Good to be here. Thanks.
It's my pleasure. And today we are going to talk about streaming media and broadcast companies that are among the biggest customers of Akamai. When it comes to major sporting events like the biggest American professional football game of the year, what kind of unique challenges they pose for streamers and broadcasters?
I would say one of the huge needs from streaming customers is the ability to get real-time visibility into their streaming event to really understand what's going on. Especially for live streaming events where you are under a lot of time pressure to assess the health of the delivery, troubleshoot problems, and make operational decisions to address them. Any medium to large streaming event is a massive amount of data, as you said, both in the streaming delivery logs, but also in the player telemetry. And so one of the reasons why we find Hydrolix such an impactful solution for our customers is it can ingest both the CDN logs from the media delivery and the client-side telemetry from something like CMCD, make it available real-time, indexed, with flexible filtering options.
Can you go a bit deeper and explain what kind of matrices and data they are looking at?
From the delivery side, you're looking at turnaround time, you're looking at bandwidth, more or less how quick are we delivering the media assets, and what the available bandwidth is to deliver those. And those would be on the CDN side logs. And then on the player side, you're pulling in telemetry around rebuffering, which bit rates you're on, buffer stalls, player errors. And the strength is to be able to really get granular and filter all that data key in real time. Because if you're seeing issues in target areas or target players, sometimes even on specific bit rates, you want to know that as fast as possible so that you can address that issue.
And what are the areas where Hydrolix technologies are being used for such use cases?
The ingest of the data, and then the indexing, filtering, and presentation of it, specifically around using dashboards with the ability to customize the visualizations that are on it, the filter options you have, how you're breaking down the data on it. The flexibility and being able to tune those dashboards go a long way into making it so that anyone on the customer side can sit down and understand the data that they're seeing, and so that it kind of maps back to their run books and kind of their operational procedures.
Tony, now let's talk about the work Akamai is doing with Hydrolix. What kind of integration, what kind of customization is there to fulfill those specific needs?
Building on what Nathan said, first and foremost, they took advantage of the real-time, the ingest, query on ingest capability of Hydrolix. A lot of times when we're talking about Hydrolix, it's the foot bit reduction, and it's really quite astounding. For this project, our compression turned 41 terabytes of raw data into about 5.76 terabytes of compressed data to store. But that's not really the story for something like this. The real story is the ability to ingest multiple log sources, combine them into a single view, and query them as close to real time as possible. So Akamai's team and the client teams can diagnose the problems. And it tends to get lost in the 4x more data, 4x lower costs side of things. That there's really a real time streaming ETL engine connected to this storage, and so Akamai is uniquely well situated to take advantage of both aspects of the system. And as this event showed, they've got an operations team that's ready to identify and take action on problems, and right down to as Nathan's written about in the past, taking action to route traffic someplace else. To solve problems in real time when you have to solve them, because you lose a chance. So What I think we found working with Akamai is they know the domain, they know exactly what their customers need, and so we just need to make sure that we continue to scale because just the amount of traffic they generate is tremendous. And so working with them and working with the connected cloud is all about taking advantage of Akamai's massive scale and building a system that can continue to both cost effectively store, but more importantly, give them the tools to query real time streams. There's no second chance with real time, and that's really the strength of the query on ingest capabilities that they took advantage of.
When we look at these major events from an outsider like me or fans, it looks like a very stressful environment because you can't afford for anything to go wrong, especially for streamers and broadcasters. How do you folks reduce that stress so that dev teams can have as much fun as the fans are having during the event?
There's no stress at all. There's no stress at all. No, it's you have that one chance. So I think as much stress as there is, it's better to have visibility and know what's going wrong in the moment than to find out afterwards, or to get to find out that you've missed a geo region. It just hasn't it hasn't delivered what's expected. So the closer you can move I think it's safe to say that the closer you can move your insights into what's happening, the quality of experience for the end user, the closer you can move that to real time, the more it may appear more stressful in the moment, but you're actually, you're reducing your long-term stress because you've been able to fix problems. Nothing like finding out afterwards that there was something that you could have spotted. But I think really, I defer to Nathan on the particular live event we're talking about. It's the biggest of the biggest, and it set records, and you don't get one of those come along often.
Can you go a bit deeper and explain in detail the technologies, the processes that are in place to reduce that stress? Also, if you can share any anecdotes of things that happen, how do you create that experience for dev teams?
So a lot of it goes into the preparation for the event. Both, like I mentioned earlier, building the dashboards and visualizations that marry with the operational teams. But key is to get that real-time insight into very targeted where issues are occurring. And as it related to this specific event, the way we were presenting the data on the dashboards lined up with their balancing, their traffic shaping, and their resiliency model. So, for example, when we saw there was buffering issues in one state on one specific ASN, the customer saw that really quick, balanced around it, just affecting those players getting the suboptimal experience. So, it was very quick resolution, but also key was it was very targeted, because anytime you make balancing decisions, you risk impacting, the playing experience from reloading the stream. So you really want to make sure you're only targeting players that are getting a suboptimal experience and not making broad sweeping changes that are going to impact even players already getting a really good experience. So that ability to both see it and then operationally action on it is really where that visibility ties into, making sure the customers are happy and getting the optimal experience.
Well, I think that the preparation is really key. You have to have the domain knowledge to know exactly how to limit the query. We provide, one of our strengths with the query engine is to be able to make very, very focused queries, needle in the haystack queries on big sets of data. If you don't know what to query and you're doing that in real time, and you're trying to figure it out as the event's going on, you're going to be behind the eight ball. You're going to be trying to figure out what SQL you should write while the issue is evolving, and so I think the preparation, going back to the stress, you reduce your stress by preparing and knowing your domain, and that's really what, if you think about how, if you asked about how we partner, we have a partner in Akamai that knows, specifically what to watch for and what the customer's priorities are. And we provide the tools, but the tools are useless without the domain knowledge.
There are a ton of solutions out that can solve this problem. What makes Traffic Peak shine for such events, for such use cases?
There's other solutions to trying to take the volume of data, but really, Traffic Peak's ability to scale under that kind of load with many, many millions of concurrent plays, which is massive amounts of data flooding in. So in other solutions, what you start to find is the lag between getting you the data from current starts to grow as the level of traffic on the streams come up. So on your peak times, when you care most about having that visibility in terms of where issues are occurring and what's going on with my audience, a lot of other solutions fall flat just dealing with that amount of data. And so we find Hydrolix scales really well for that. And a part of that is the pre-planning, kind of understanding what our targets are for the event. But being able to continue to get real-time traffic, continue to filter on the data during peak times of millions and millions of concurrents is just amazing.
And I'm also curious if the role of Traffic Peak finishes as soon as the event is over, or it continues to provide valuable resources for teams post-event as well.
Since Hydrolix has all the data for the entire event, it's really beneficial to conducting your deeper dives on performance degradation events that occurred throughout the stream, and getting very granular views on where players were on the rendition ladder in different geos, broken up by different ASNs. So what you're doing is you're taking these insights to drive future workflow and operational improvements. Things like tuning the rendition ladder so that, for different areas, you're getting more people on higher quality streams, or layering in additional resiliency measures to address kind of specific issues that you've gone in and really deep dived from the data. And the ability to query that massive amount of data over the course of the entire event is extremely helpful in pulling that all together. And like I said, driving future improvements to continue to refine so that each successive event becomes easier to work on and higher quality.
Tony, how easy or difficult it is to work with Akamai for projects like these?
It's not hard at all, in part because, there's a lot of Akamai DNA in the Hydrolix product. Marty worked there until 2008. We have a lot of team members that work there. David Stickman, who's our VP of product. Jason Turner, our head of success, our VP of success. So we have deep ties just from a personal level and from an affinity, just their approach to scale and thinking about problems. Problems at that scale leave very little room for mistakes or recovery, or when you're streaming at that scale. And so, just thinking about the problems and what can go wrong. This system was built to consume exactly this kind of data, to take multiple data sources and synthesize them into a single view as fast as possible, and then keep them around. So, working with Akamai and working with their values around scaling and also around customer support, really were simpatico. So it's been a great experience. This last year has been tremendous for us, and we're sort of looking forward to what we can do next. The Akamai Connected Cloud is, as Nathan was talking about how we can scale. We can't scale if the underlying system can't scale. And so, there's a technical and there's a business and sort of a personal partnership that makes this successful.
And how would you define that it was a success?
The first most important answer is that the customer was happy and that Akamai was happy. So for us, the success is that they got the value that they needed out of the platform that we built. So that's number one by far. But coming in a close second is just you can't really test for an environment. We're getting to scales where you can't just spin up a load test and simulate one of the biggest streaming events that ever happened. There are companies, and you can list them on like probably two hands, the fingers of two hands, the companies that are working at a certain scale, and Akamai is one of them. And when you have a peak event at a hyperscaler, there's no simulation for that. There's no preparation for that other than to know the domain and do your homework. So just seeing like in the time period of the game, 53 billion records ingested. You don't prep for that in a test way. You prep for that in the sort of the architectural, and like a million things went into that coming off. So I think a high point was just being able to sustain that level of throughput while being able to return answers that were important for the quality of the end user's experience in real time.
As a architect working with customers, my focus is on a successful event. And any advice both in how their workflow is architected, but also on the operational side, because a lot of the success comes from being able to make decisions during an event. So visibility and being able to really target and understand the data you're able to get has long been a focus of mine, like I said, to really get that successful event for the customer. So real-time data had always been a problem space, especially for live. Over the years, I've seen it where, you used to not be able to see an issue for several minutes. Then it took minutes to dissect it and then, come up with a solution. So all that time in trying to resolve, was a suboptimal experience for some portion of the streaming event. And it's not about where the fault is or where the issue is. Again, it's about having a successful event for our customers. So Hydrolix coming along was a huge boon for being able to get that data and action on it as fast as possible, minimizing the impact, which does translate into money in a lot of cases, not just Akamai revenue, but the customer's revenue from their customers. So, all these seconds count. All these seconds, matter. So, I've really enjoyed working with the solution, going in with customers, making sure they've got that visibility and understanding on how to action and leverage it.
Of course, these days, the hottest topic is Gen AI. What is the scope of Gen AI for such events? And I'm looking at both Hydrolix and Akamai.
One of the complexities in going into an event is to build dashboards and visualizations around what you're expecting to see. So it does require a lot of pre-knowledge, which a lot of media customers have, Akamai has, but where it becomes tricky is when you start to see things you haven't seen before, both in real time and even doing the post-event processing. Why did these issues occur? What were some of the indicators? So for me, machine learning and the ability to take anomalies and pull in relevant data around that anomaly and present it, just like I said, cuts down that time on being able to understand what's going on so that you can make operational decisions on it. I think to me that would be immensely useful to, even for like say smaller streaming customers that maybe don't have the deep operational knowledge. Machine learning and being able to dynamically build visualizations around anomalies and problems and pulling in relevant data, I think could be a massive benefit.
What we see is, in particular with events like this, humans struggle sometimes with visualizations of data and taking information out of a graph, especially when there's a lot going on, there are multiple graphs. Where we see tremendous promise on the Gen AI LLM side is in interpretation, summarization, and connection. An event happens, something anomalous happens, it's flagged by a machine learning algorithm, but then what do you do next? You build summaries. You go to you have a corpus of previous events you can draw from. And if you're a customer, maybe it helps you build a much better ticket to report to the network operations. And if you're network operations, it can help prioritize what actions you need to take. It can interpret what's going on. It can look at run books. It can incorporate the run book materials. So, log data is, particularly resistant to some of the great things that Gen AI can do. But the interpretation of log data and the interpretation of errors, that's something where Gen AI can really make an addition. What Nathan really highlighted and what we're enthusiastic on the operations side that kicks off these great messages is using machine learning algorithms for anomaly detection, for prediction, and we'll use machine learning to get to the point where we can anticipate events, and we can use Gen AI to better respond to events and communicate better in the moment when, as Nathan said, seconds really count.
Nathan, Tony, thank you so much for joining me today and discuss this topic. It was really exciting to see how you folks make it so easy for streamers and broadcasters so that fans can continue to enjoy these major events. Thanks for great insights, and I would love to chat with you folks again soon. Thank you.